Hello everyone watching, this is Boiler Room, we're live in London. And I'm stood here with Mr. James Lavelle, founder of Moax, uncle, an artist in his own right, DJ, and a massive Stanley Kubrick fan.
Yeah.
And we are here in Somerset House to present his latest exhibition. So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm good, yeah, a little bit tired. It's been a bit of a long road getting here, it's been 5 years, so it's a bit like finishing an album. I'm kind of like really excited and sort of elated, but also a little bit kind of like confused and sort of, it's all happened, so I'm like, what am I going to do next? But anyway, we're here, so.
Yeah, absolutely here, and it's looking absolutely amazing as well. So today we're going to go and have a little walkthrough, an exclusive preview of the whole show. Feel free to ask me your questions on both Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you're locked in through. I guess we are here in the main foyer.
So this is a foyer. We've got a painting by Christiana, his widow. That's the first thing you really see. And there's a light box that we worked on with myself and Nathan Cody, which we did a trailer, sort of based on the monolith from 2001, but it's a very classic Kubrick quote. List of the artists, a little bit of an overview of the show. And the idea of the show is it is like DJing really to me, or putting a record together. It's about having a beginning, a middle and an end, and it's an experience. It's not a single, it's an album. Do you know what I mean? And so you basically come in here and we walk into the first exhibit, which is an artist called Matt Collishaw. I think it kind of sets the tone quite well for the beginning of your journey to Kubrick. It's inspired by 2001, based on Pepper's Ghost. Inside the helmet is an ape trying to get out.
So when did your obsession with Kubrick actually begin? I understand it was as a teenager.
Yeah, I mean probably around 12 years old. I mean in those days you didn't have the internet, you didn't have so much cultural stuff to deal with really as a kid. I grew up in Oxford, so the video store and the record store were my social, creative environments. And in the video store you'd go in and literally just watch everything you possibly could, because it was really fucking boring when I was a kid, So you discover Bruce Lee, you discover, Blade Runner, Tron, all these kind of films, Apocalypse Now, and Stanley Kubrick, 2001, because I was really into science fiction. So I didn't know anything about him other than seeing this film, and seeing that film changed my life.
What was it What was it about Stanley Kubrick in particular that actually grabbed you so much?
Everything, the sense of style, music, mystery, technique. I loved the fact that he created his own universe around him. People had to come to him. There was mystique around it, there was controversy. But I think also subject matter of his films are incredibly poignant subject matters. So the power of men, the misguided power of men, through the various films, especially the classic films. I think that, to be able to deal with a film like 2001, Before Man Beats the Moon, which is obviously another controversial subject with Kubrick, but, that film on a technical level, it's the first time you've seen tablets. The monolith is what the iPhone's based on, creating a film where there's no gravity and the use of liquids in water to create these effects in space, but also the fact that it was so that you were allowed to discover this film. It wasn't a narrative drive into you, so that it was something that allowed you to have space to take it in. And I think, like music, it sort of allowed you to wander. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't so defined, in its narrative. And I think that sort of touched me in the same way that music did in that way. I let my brain, my imagination flow. And then you had things like Clockwork Orange, which is obviously when you're a kid, it's like trying to watch all the movies that get banned. So there was that kind of thing going on. And did you get to see that film? How poignant that was visually, and I mean Lolita was a big one for me as well, because I thought it was such a. I mean the great thing with Kubrick is that people forget he had a lot of humour in his films as well. And a subject like Lolita, which is an incredibly different subject, but in a sense it has this amazing mix of comedy and intensity about very poignant subjects. And I mean the list sort of goes on really for me. It's just from the aesthetics, the style of things, the way that shots were done, the way that he invented things, cameras, etc. You know, it's sort of that, as an artist, as a creative, it's just that thing of somebody that's got such a breadth of an imagination and such an impact on culture is fascinating.
Absolutely, like pioneering so many different forms of films and
I mean, to me, you know, you could have, it's no different than when you have a Picasso or a Derek May, you know, it's like, how did you do what you did and then have such an influence on modern culture? I find that incredibly fascinating.
Absolutely. Talking about like pioneering all this stuff, we're going to walk through.
You come in, so basically it's 16 rooms off a long hallway, so suddenly you're coming into the exhibition, and this is a fireplace built by Stuart Haygarth. It's based on the fireplace shot in 2001, which is a very complicated shot. So some of the works are based on technique, some of them are style, some of them are literal to film. So it's quite a varied palette of influence. The room next door, which is the first room, the second room you kind of really walk into is Ian Forsyth and Jane Pollard. They famously did the recent Nick Cave documentary. This is about 110 radios, which each radio emits different vocals based on music from A Clockwork Orange. And you have people like Jarvis Cocker and the singer from The National and all these different, the Savages, all doing these harmonies and weird speeches, and that kind of travels into the corridor a bit because music was such a big thing in his films. We wanted to, you know, focus on that as well, you know. So it's multi-sensory, you know. So there's a bit of fun, there needs to be a bit of fun as well, do you know what I mean?
Yes. Welcome to the Overlook Hotel / Corridor.
This is Adam Broomberg and Oliver Charon's room, which is, they did the idea for the carpet. Then you've got Mark Quinn, who's one of the most important British contemporary artists. Kubrick. Violence in a lot in his films, and especially anti-war, you know, with Full Metal Jacket, Dr. Strangelove, Paths of Glory, you know, the violence in A Clockwork Orange. So this is his take on his contribution on the idea of violence within art. And a room here that I've collaborated with an artist called John Isaacs. An artist called Azzy Glazer, who's a scent artist, so smell, and Dexter Navy, who's a video director who's famous for doing videos like LSD for A$AP Rocky, and Giovanni Estevez, who runs Supreme in New York. So
now I was particularly grabbed by this room because of the smell.
Yeah.
Say. Of course, you can't necessarily sense what it actually smells like. But it's a very obscure sense as soon as you step inside.
Which is meant to take on a sense of space.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, I work with John with these bears, which are kind of playing on the sort of innocence of his influence in film, but again, violence and sexuality. So Lolita, Clockwork Orange. The boxes are based on boxes which were in The Shining, but also as a little bit of an ode to Andy Warhol and the Brillo boxes. We've got, you know, neon text, which is a sort of take on Lolita or Eyes Wide Shut. There's a soundtrack which I've done with Carl Craig, and Planet Funk from Italy, and it has vocals from a young artist I'm working with called Elliot Power, and Michelle Lamy, who's a spoken word artist who's also, her husband's Rick Owens. So it's kind of a lot going on.
So what particularly drew you to someone like Carl Craig, who obviously within our world is a very big character?
Well, I've worked with Carl since I started, and Carl, you know, when I put out the front log with Carl Craig and Richie Hawtin, that was a massive game changer with Mowax. And I've always loved Carl, and I thought, you know, I was interested in the relationship between techno and Stanley Kubrick.
Yes.
And 2001 was a massive influence for them when they were starting to, you know, when it was him and Derek and Juan and, you know, Kevin Reese Saunderson. It was I believe, you know, I know for Carl it was a big influence, you know. And also the music of Wendy Carlos, because Wendy Carlos was one of the first musicians to have electronic music in films. So Stanley Kubrick was basically pioneered electronic music in movies.
How how much you think how sad it is that he almost gets overlooked as a patron of electronic music, because essentially he was one of the first people.
Yeah, I mean, but I think this is what this is about. It's about showing people, rediscovering that, but also showing that the people that have come from that world, you know, someone like Carl to me is one of the most important musicians of a generation. Techno essentially now is the language of, it's one of the greatest musical languages in the world. Anywhere you go, you can find a wicked techno club. It used to be rock and roll, now it's techno. And I was very proud that we did this together. And so we've got this, he gave me this really fucked up Carl Craig kind of panned mental noise piece, and then I added all this music to it. And I got a really good email the other day saying he absolutely loved it, so I'm really, really pleased. Because we've never made music together, I've A&R'd him and we've collaborated, but we've never done a track together.
I think this is the first time we've actually collaborated. So how did it work then in that sense? Can you break down exactly how you guys kind of...
We talked about it, and it was really funny. I haven't spoken to him in a while, and he's like, you know, cool, yeah. I always call him and he'll be like, oh, here we go, another mad idea, what's on the agenda now? And unfortunately I really wanted him to do Meltdown, and he couldn't do it. We were hoping to do in his own orchestra performance, and he was booked at that time. So he was one of the first people that I really wanted to get involved musically on this. And so we were having this conversation, and he's like, I've just built my new studio, and I found a load of old stuff. I've got this track, sent it over to me, and it was like, this is fucking perfect. So I then worked and elaborated on that, and we just went, you know, back and forth on the internet.
Great. I guess we should move on. Lead the way, sir.
So we then go into Toby Dye is a filmmaker that he's done a lot of great Uncle videos. He did Another Night Out. He did the Elliot Power video of me, Massive Attack's Paradise Circus video, and I wanted to work with him on something special for the show. So Lonely Soul was a piece of music that I sent to Stanley Kubrick from science fiction. And so he's made a film based on that idea, and it's a four-wall installation. It features Adrian Gillen from Game of Thrones and The Wire, Joanna Lumley, famous for Absolutely Fabulous. different, you know, playing different characters around Kubrick ideas. It's called The Corridor, and it's based on the long shot of, you know, classic long Steadicam shot of Kubrick. Different characters, different reference points of Kubrick, from Spartacus to Barry Lyndon to Lolita to The Shining. And each person very cleverly meets. They all have these individual experiences, and they meet in this corridor. So playing again on violence, themes of violence, power. There you go.
You can stay in this room. Wow. This is absolutely incredible.
So here we're going into more of a slightly more traditional gallery experience because of the nature. There's a lot of different disciplines at work. So here we have painting, sculpture, and sound. So it's Matt Shivers, who's a sculptor, Nathan Coley, who's a text artist but also a sculpture artist, Rachel Howard, a painter, Michael Nyman, who's very classically known for his classical scores to films, James Farrell, who's an Irish artist, and Gavin Turk, who's a conceptual artist based in London. So again, themes of different Kubrick work. You're coming into a slightly more traditional gallery space. So we've got Matt Shivers' sculpture, which is based on 2001. It's all the binary code from 2001 that then creates this shape, done in the style of a chessboard because of Kubrick's obsession with chess. Or Gavin Turk's Maze based on The Shining. We have a video installation with Michael Nyman where he's rescored sections from Doctor Strangelove. We have Seamus Farrell's work, which is a sort of portrait of Stanley Kubrick in the way that he works with glass. Holy, which is basically based on the twins from The Shining. It's a classic piece of his work, which is slightly adjusted in the same way as the twins. There were slight changes with each person. So it's kind of conceptually based around that. And then Rachel Howard, who's a painter whose work is based on some of the wallpaper from The Shining.
Like being like a kid in a candy store for any Kubrick fan. It's like all of your best dreams in one place.
We go back into the kind of corridor. We have a painting by an amazing new modern painter called Johannes Burgert from Berlin. So this is playing with innocence and the nightmares of Kubrick. We have a film by an artist called Julian Rosenfeld, which features Kate Blanchett, which you can now see the monolith from 2001, which is an exact replica of the monolith from 2001, and this is part of a huge installation he did, which he very kindly gave us the Kubrick-inspired piece. This is a one-off, never been seen in this way before. Through to Doug Aitken, who's a contemporary Californian artist, who has it's a telephone which reacts to light and movement, and it's basically based on the telephone from Doctor Strangelove. I've actually used every space in place. A real battle so I've converted the toilets into spaces. I've included utensil cupboards into spaces to create this environment where everything kind of lived in, but gives you. There's a film in here by Samantha Morton and Douglas Hart. Samantha is obviously, I think, one of the most important female actresses in this country. And this is a film about her experience of discovering Kubrick, but it's quite heavy and it's a very sort of intimate piece of film, but it's kind of in here to give this very intimate experience. So, but as you can see walking in now, it's quite sort of little. It's quite a hardcore piece, but it's very poignant, and it's this girl sort of escaping the world to discover Stanley Kubrick. We then go into further down the hall. This is by Kuhn-Van-Halen. He's an artist from Belgium. He works with chickens. He works a lot with. He's quite an incredible artist because he works with chickens in an artistic sense, but he also works with animals, and predominantly chickens, for developing vaccines for cancer, fertility. And so this is the chicken eye, and the importance of chickens is they're the only species that exist in every culture in the world, that they're different in every culture. And we are, because of eggs, we are bound with this sort of relationship between human beings and chickens. And so, but this is also referential of 2001, and Stanley Kubrick's films have always got a very strong identity through eyes. We then go into Norbert Schroeder's room. This you can't really see, but this is a VR piece. And when you put the headset on, here, somewhere here, yeah, it's here. So this is VR, which is obviously the hype thing at the moment. So I was quite interested in getting a VR piece in here because it's quite it's one of those things that's just starting to happen. And what he's done amazingly is he's recreated the wheel in 2001, where people are walking around the wheel. It's not really a wheel, but it's in the spaceship. And if you watch it, you are walking inside the spaceship in 2001.
We'll be back here later.
It's pretty fucking crazy. It does make you a bit sick sometimes. Combine that and the smell kind of knocked me out yesterday a bit. Anyway, we then sort of backtrack a little bit. We go into the maze. The maze is another more gallery space, but we based it on The Shining. I think that the architectural theme within this is The Shining. So you've got the carpet, you've got the maze. So in here we have Harlan Miller, who's a very important British contemporary artist. A lot of his work is based on Penguin books and text from Penguin books. This, I believe, is based on A Clockwork Orange. We have video from Jamie Shovlin, another British contemporary artist here, which is based on the typewriter and, you know, obviously The Shining, the classic scene of the typewriter. Well, not scene, but the usage of the typewriter, but also, you know, the sort of the obsession and the way that scripts and work was written throughout his work. If you go into his archive, most things are typed out on the typewriter. And there's the sound of the typewriter kind of goes through this room. Hold on 1 second.
So guys, if you've just joined us, this is Boilers. We're here in London. We're here with James Lavelle, who's walking us around his new exhibition. That's basically a love letter to Stanley Kubrick. So get in your questions.
So this is Jason Schulman. It's a one exposure shot of 2001. So that is the whole movie in a photo.
It's the longest exposure.
Yeah. You then have here, I'm just trying to make sure I get everybody's names right. This is Ruth Blees Luxembourg, and this is a picture based on Barry Lyndon.
I'm actually quite intrigued by Ruth Blees Luxembourg's work because she shot the front cover for The Streets' With The Streets and Block Party's albums, the ones that are based in very...
Which actually, I didn't connect that, I didn't realise that, but it's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. These like long exposures, you can see like, the light peeling through.
I think this was shot in Somerset somewhere actually, but I think it's basically based on the scene from Barry Lyndon. Mm-hmm. You then have Pink Twins, which is kind of this video piece which is based in 2001. It's not moving very much at the moment, but it kind of mutates and grows, and so it's the end of 2001.
So what's the story behind this? Sorry,
they're from Finland, and it's a video piece which is on a loop. I think it sort of starts changing over time. The thing is, a lot of these works are, they're not instant things. They take time, and this sort of it starts disintegrating, but it's sort of based on the last scene out of 2001. We have Futura, who was Futura 2000, who did all artwork for Uncle. So my relationship with Futura, as many of the people I worked with at MOAX, was based on reference points being Kubrick, hip hop, Kubrick, electronic music. So he called himself Futura 2000 because of Stanley Kubrick. He's now Futura after the millennium stopped, but I thought it was very important to have a piece of his work in there because also science fiction, the artwork for science fiction was based around Kubrick and 2001. We even ripped, I think we stole a bit from something. Back in the sampling days. Charlotte Colbert, photographer, I love this photo. It's it's great sort of, I feel a great feminine take on 2001, I think it's just beautiful. There's something really sort of otherworldly and alluring, and I just think it's a very beautiful portrait. Here we have very long time collaborators of mine, Warren Dupree and Nick Thornton-Jones. This is a new video piece that we've made, which is again sort of more 2001. It's this sort of space collage. It's very beautiful, and it's with music. It's a new Uncle track off the new forthcoming album with Keaton Henson, who's this amazing London singer, songwriter, artist who's collaborating with me on the new record. This is a photograph that they've done, which is sort of more based around Eyes Wide Shut, because they do a lot of photos based on erotica. This is a very good friend of mine, David Nicholson, again, Eyes Wide Shut. He is one of the most amazingly detailed portrait painters in the world, more coming from the world of Caravaggio and Renaissance painting. All Insect, British street artist. I just thought this was I wanted to have, everything that I possibly could in here from the disciplines of street art through to master painting. I thought this was just a great way of sort of depicting a Clockwork Orange in quite a modern kind of hoodie way.
And timely more than anything.
Yeah, well, unfortunately the world that we've found ourselves in at the moment is quite a poignant image. You know, there's only 2 people in this show that worked really with Stanley that I worked with. This is Philip Castle's work. So this is brand new that he just painted. This is not been seen before from Full Metal Jacket, and this was a piece that was done for A Clockwork Orange but wasn't really used. So I thought it was a good retrospective look at some of the poster art of Stanley Kubrick. Right, okay. Polly Morgan, who's a taxidermy artist. So this is A Clockwork Orange with a snake, which I think is sort of based, probably relatively phallic, basically. But I'm a huge fan of her work, and I'm so pleased she's in the show. And then we have Mark Harrison, which is basically Stanley Kubrick as a baby, which is an incredibly detailed painting constructed of all these singular blocks with a very interesting Stanley quote, basically. So that's a kind of his ode to, as most of his work is a kind of ode to him as a human being, and the birth of Stanley Kubrick.
I also want to talk about the sound in here as well. What was the decision behind this?
So the sound in here, so I've done most of the sound in the exhibition collaborating with various different artists like Cole Gray. We're going to go into another room where I work with Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age, Mercury Rev, Joycelyn Pook, who's the other artist, and she did the music for Eyes Wide Shut, an unreleased track of the Eyes Wide Shut. And also there's an interview that I did with Christiana Kubrick, interspersed within it, and Brian Cox, the Scottish actor who people know from things like the X-Men, who's also a friend of mine, and he did some amazing voiceovers of Kubrick quotes. So I've tried to have all different, real mix of people and ways of communicating his work.
I think that speaks so much about what Stanley Kubrick stood for. This almost universal appeal across everything from sound to all of these different mediums and artwork. It's actually incredible to see.
And I think that in here it sounds of typewriters. So there's a typewriter kind of going on here, there's a typewriter going on in the background. They're kind of weirdly meshing together. But I think it's a thing that's synonymous with film, with script writing, but also, of course, The Shining and All Play Makes Jack. No play or whatever. I can't even remember. I'm so tired. No play makes Jack a dull boy. We go into this corridor now, and this is where you hear a lot of music. It's a 20-minute soundtrack. At the end, there is a laser piece with crystal beams, which, when you look at it in certain angles, you see Stanley Kubrick's face. I don't know if it will come out in the video. You kind of have to, when you come in, you kind of have to turn around and look, and you will see his face in the laser. Yeah. It's pretty insane. Well, move the camera so you can come out together. It's probably very hard to pick up, but this is the great thing about this show, is you've got to come here to experience it. It's not just something you can download or watch on YouTube. We go into this room, which is two artists. Just what's in this room, just playing in here. There's a remix I did of a track called it's off his last album, Vampires, which was inspired by Wendy Coles and The Shining.
I also said, am I right in saying this was a collaboration with Max Richter as well?
Yeah, Max Richter. Yeah.
That's quite interesting how they're both from like opposing ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Again, it speaks to that whole idea.
But that's what I like. I mean, that's what I'm into. And I think that's what his films are about. And I hope that, whether you like Uncle Records or not, or Mowax, that's what I was. The idea of putting techno with, Money Mark, the idea of DJ Shadow and Richie Orr, the idea of Josh Homme and, Richard Ashcroft, those things are what I also like. It's like a DJ set, you're trying to put all these things together and it makes sense. It's me, I love DJs when you'd be in a club, 1 minute you hear, the latest techno record, and then you hear I Feel Love, or, Fleetwood Mac in the middle of, Berghain or something. Those are the things I love, People like Harvey, those kind of great people that can really take you on a mad journey. So this is Doug Foster. It's based on the Stargate sequence from 2001. He's a collaborator I've worked with a lot on Uncle Visuals. And Nancy Fultz, she's a female artist, American artist. and she has brought a bit of humour into it. So outside there's a giant chair, like a film, you know, the chairs you have in a movie, the director's chair, and in here there's a breathing camera. This is amazing. So you can hear the camera breathing. It's a bit like Darth Vader. But there was always humour in Kubrick's films, so I think it's very important to remember that. This is quite an amazing piece. Whoa. So this is based on the Stargate sequence, a reimagination of that with music that I've done with Philip Shepard, who is a contemporary classical musician. He's worked with people from Bjork to Scott Walker. He just recently did some work on Star Wars. So this is a 20-minute piece, and really takes you into another world.
This is the ayahuasca room.
Yeah.
So how did this take to make?
I don't know, I think Doug sort of worked over it over the last sort of year, 6 months, because Doug was one of the first artists I asked to be in the show. 5 years ago, I presented 5 or 6 artists' ideas to Christiana to show her what the idea would be. So there was Nathan Coley, Jonas Berger, Doug Foster, Toby Dye, and Jamie Shovlin. And they were just, I did this proposal of work, and this was one of the first things they saw as an embryonic piece.
As an embryo, it's pretty strong.
It's pretty amazing. And this is all natural, this is not CGI. This is all glitter and liquid and water. There's no CGI, apart from, grading, etc. But it's a natural piece. Yeah. I mean, in 2001 there was no CGI. It was all done in water and ink drops.
Into the vortex.
So that's the trick.
I think I'm quite like to live in this room.
Pretty good stonework.
Yeah.
So we then continue down the corridor. We go into a room with Haroon Miza and Anish Kapoor, and I'm very proud to have both of them in the show. Haroon I've worked with quite a lot. He's a sound artist, and Anish obviously is one of the most important artists in the world. And this is really fucking intense. And this plays with sort of some of the uncomfortable movements from Kubrick movies, and sound, how, those films will make you feel very uncomfortable. So I can't really take it too wrong. But what's interesting is the infinity mirror kind of makes its own shape with the sound and the light, but you can only really see it if you're here.
Epilepsy sufferers, please look away.
Something quite fun. This is Paul Fryer, who's another brilliant contemporary British artist. I met Paul because he was involved with clubs at Leeds, so he used to do clubs with people like Ralph Lawson.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is quite fun. We're going into a refrigerated room, so it's cold in here. And here's Stanley as Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining. When you see Jack Nicholson when he's frozen in the maze. So yeah, it's kind of quite mad. It's like a twisted Madame Tussauds. We then come to one of the last parts of the exhibition, which I've got to say I'm incredibly proud of this room that we're going to see. So this is Thomas Bangalter from, obviously people know from Daft Punk, but what people don't know is that he's a cinematographer, or some people do, but he is listed as a musician and a cinematographer. And I hadn't spoken to Thomas since I did the last ever gig with Daft Punk before they had helmets. So it was at Fabric, and it was for an anti-war march for when we were going into Afghanistan, and it was the first ever Gorillaz live show.
First ever Gorillaz
yeah, and it was the last ever time that you saw Daft Punk without a helmet. And I hadn't spoken to him in probably 15 years. And I'm very good friends with Pedro Winter, and I called Pedro and I was like, do you think Tom might be interested in Kubrick? I just think he would. And I sent him an email, bang that day, email back, love to talk to you. Went to Paris and had this afternoon with him. And I've got to say, I think he is one of the nicest men in music.
I'm quite intrigued to understand how he replies to emails.
He was incredibly articulate. He's a very, 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 very lovely, gentle, but incredibly articulate man. And we just chatted about Kubrick, and I had this moment where he was like, yeah, I thought about it, and I just thought, okay, it's nice to see you. And he went, but I've got this thing that I did, and it's me as a cinematographer, and it's a one-shot natural light piece, shot with the same lenses as Panavision lenses that he used, and I would really love to put it in the show as a referencing, you know, the one-shot natural light, and it's a man in the desert on fire for 5 minutes, and it's on one of the most, it's basically the biggest high-definition 4K television you can get, which has been incredibly hard to source again, but we made it. So I'm incredibly proud of this. It's very meditative, and it's just sort of, you know, coming to the end of the exhibition. And when it's rolling, you kind of hear the sound of an 8mm projector, because we wanted to feel very analog, you know. Essentially, he's walking away now, but over 5 minutes, he comes to you and he leaves.
So this is the reading. Where was the shot?
It was shot in the desert, I think in California or Arizona maybe, I can't remember. There should be sound, but I may need to have a word with somebody. See if we can click on. Deal with that, the beginnings of the exhibition. We then come to sort of coming near the end, so now we go into the room with Sarah Lucas, who's one of the most important British artists and sculptors. She just was the main British artist in the last Biennale in Venice. Clockwork Orange, the rape scene in A Clockwork Orange, essentially, I think is the reference to that. Yeah. And I did the music with Mick Jones from The Clash. At the end, it's sort of reference, you know, it's the car. What's the meaning behind it? The car, I think we need to talk to her more about that, to be honest with you. We then go into Peter Kennard. Peter Kennard is an anti-war artist. When I was a kid, my mother worked with CND, and he was one of the first artists I was really exposed to. Famously, if you've ever seen like images of Trident missiles cut in half by C&D logos, things like that. I wanted something which was a political statement at the end of the exhibition. It's based on Dr. Strangelove. But I have to say that after today, and Theresa May trying to encourage Trident to be, you know, put very quickly back into action, what happened with the Brexit, I think is a very important piece of work. You have images of all of the 9 countries that have, you know, nuclear weapons. Interspersed with imagery from Dr. Strangelove and anti-war imagery, basically. I hope I've done all the artists justice. I'm sort of, you know, it's hard to talk about everybody's work. You know, everybody obviously has their own take on what they've done, so I apologise if I've done anything that's incorrect, but hopefully you've enjoyed the tour. And there's one last piece to see, which is a communal piece. So there's one piece that you can see for free, which is with an artist called Joseph Kassouf. He's famously started conceptual art in America, and he is a very famously known for text work. So we walk out basically into the Nelson Stairwell, which is a National Heritage feature of Somerset House. And he's basically text and neon punctuation the whole of the staircase, based on the script from The Shining, where the staircase scene sort of incorporates, sort of things that, the camera pans, Jack jumps off, also dialogue, etc. So, and that goes right up, 3 flights of stairs. I'm very proud that we managed to do this, because it was very difficult with, the National Trust. So we're very, very pleased that it's actually happened, because, the rest of the space I could really fuck with, but here was very much like it's a heritage site. So it's just quite an achievement. So yeah,
what a fitting way to end as well. Cool. Honestly, massive congratulations. Thank you very much for putting together here. But yeah, I think that's the end of our tour here. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Boiler Room.